he is not bluffing when it comes to his nuclear threats. After nuclear fission was discovered in the late 1930s, it didn't take long before the brightest minds created the most powerful weapon known to man. It's been nearly 80 years since the first atomic bomb exploded in the Trinity test, and since then, we have witnessed thousands of nuclear detonations, constantly testing, improving, and accelerating the evolution of nuclear weapons. From a cosmic perspective, it seems as though we are on a determined path toward our own extinction. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and August 9, 1945, mark the only times these weapons of mass destruction were used in war. But that doesn't mean we are out of the woods yet. In just 8 decades, we have gone from not knowing if it was feasible to unleash the power of the atom to possessing the capability to destroy the world many times over. For example, Little Boy, the bomb dropped over Hiroshima, released energy equivalent to 15 kilotons of TNT, or the simultaneous explosion of over 30 million pounds of TNT. While that is a lot of energy, certainly enough to destroy a small city, it pales in comparison to modern nuclear weapons. The most powerful nuclear weapon in the U.S. arsenal today is the B-83, a thermonuclear gravity bomb with a maximum yield of 1.2 megatons of TNT. That is 80 times more powerful than Little Boy. Imagine 80 Little Boy atomic bombs detonating at the same time. That is just one B-83. The United States officially has around 650 B-83s, among its total of approximately 5,044 nuclear warheads. To put that into perspective, the Little Boy atomic bomb had a maximum fireball diameter of about 396 meters, 1,300 feet, while the B-83 thermonuclear bomb has a maximum fireball diameter of about 2.3 kilometers, 1.4 miles. So, in any direction you look, in 1.4 miles, the fireball incinerates everything within it, but the largest U.S. nuclear bomb ever tested, Castle Bravo, yielded an even bigger fireball diameter of about 8.3 kilometers, 5 miles. But to get to an even more bizarre comparison, the largest man-made explosion ever on Earth, the mighty Tsar Bomba, had a yield of a whopping 50 megatons of TNT, with a maximum fireball diameter exceeding 10 kilometers, 6.4 miles, reaching the altitude of the plane that dropped it. There was an even bigger theoretical version of the Tsar Bomba that could reach 100 megatons of TNT. So, why were nuclear weapons of the 1960s much more powerful than those of today? You see, in the fourth-dimensional chess game of mutual assured destruction, bigger is not always better. The ability to deliver these weapons accurately to their targets is also extremely important. After World War II ended, it became clear that the former allies, the United States and the Soviet Union, would plunge the world into a Cold War for ideological supremacy. It was feared that an inevitable Cold War could turn red hot. The US knew it would not be long before the Soviets developed their own atomic weapons, considering they had atomic spies in the Manhattan Project. The United States had a monopoly on nuclear weapons for 4 years. During this time and afterward, they conducted a series of crucial tests to stay ahead of the Soviets. Watch those bombs in the foreground. Operation Crossroads was a pair of nuclear weapon tests conducted by the United States at Bikini Atoll in mid-1946. These were the first nuclear weapon tests since Trinity on July 16, 1945, and the first detonations of nuclear devices since the atomic bombing of Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. The purpose of the tests was to investigate the effects of nuclear weapons on warships. The Crossroads tests were the first of many nuclear tests held in the Marshall Islands, and the first to be publicly announced beforehand and observed by an invited audience, including a large press corps. A fleet of 95 target ships was assembled in Bikini Lagoon and hit with 2 detonations of Fat Man plutonium implosion-type nuclear weapons of the kind dropped on Nagasaki in 1945, each with a yield of 23 kilotons of TNT. Operation Sandstone was another, and the last of the series of nuclear weapon tests in 1948 conducted by the United States as a monopoly in atomic weapons. On August 29, 1949, at 7 a.m., the Soviet Union conducted its first-ever nuclear weapon test. The RDS-1 device, also known as the First Lightning, was codenamed by the United States as Jo-1, referencing Joseph Stalin. The first Soviet atomic bomb, RDS-1, was an implosion type, an almost identical copy of the U.S. Fat Man bomb. The test surprised Western powers. American intelligence had estimated that the Soviets would not produce an atomic weapon until 1953, while the British did not expect it until 1954. When the nuclear fission products from the test were detected by the U.S. Air Force, the United States began to follow the trail of the nuclear fallout debris. President Harry S. Truman notified the world of the situation on September 23, 1949, saying, "We have evidence that within recent weeks an atomic explosion occurred in the Soviet Union." Truman's statement likely in turn surprised the Soviets, who had hoped to keep the test a secret to avoid encouraging the Americans to increase their atomic programs and did not know that the United States had built a test detection system. The announcement was a turning point in the Cold War that had just begun. Once the Soviet Union was confirmed to be in possession of the atomic bomb, the arms race to develop the first hydrogen bomb also began. That same year, in 1949, there was also another significant geopolitical development. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, was formed on April 4, 1949. The treaty established a military alliance between 12 North American and Western European countries, aiming to provide collective security against the threat posed by the Soviet Union during the early stages of the Cold War.